Hey, it's the Frugal Travelista here. I'm inside the Museum of Freedom Park, and it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous space. There's so many symbolic representations of African way of life, and it is captured so beautifully. I'm just enthralled with all of the exhibits. There's representation of the harsh parts of South African history, including not only apartheid but slavery. I learned that South Africa is the only country in the entire continent where slaves were imported by the Dutch. So other African people, and including Indians and Malaysians and people of color from all over the world, were imported here to South Africa to work for free as indentured and enslaved people. There's the history of the Boer Wars. There's the reclamation process. There's the honoring of African spirituality. There's so much. There's a recognition that the U.S. has played in both the liberation and the continued oppression of South Africa. They had names like Maya Angelou on the wall as recognition of some of their heroes and sheroes. They had Fidel Castro listed. They had so many different parts that represents a holistic appreciation of the history and the culture of what is become, you know, the Rainbow Nation of South Africa today. And so I just want to give you a little glimpse of some of the things that I'm seeing in this exhibit, the inside feature. I'm standing in the amphitheater of the Hall of Freedom. You can see the amphitheater is located right outside of the water exhibit, and you have the eternal flame back there in the background. I can kind of see it in the rear view, but I'll definitely get a close-up so that you can see it better. It's beautiful. This amphitheater space is open to the people. I'm not sure if there's a fee, but it's used for things like religious ceremonies, concerts, wine tastings, all kinds of things. So the space is just gorgeous. As you can see, it's got the natural landscape. It's surrounded by wooded area, and the wooded area is filled with indigenous plants to South Africa. And the design of this space is not only beautiful, like aesthetically beautiful, but it's laden with symbolic meaning. Like these towers behind me, these tall poles, these are reeds. They call them reeds, and they're supposed to represent new life, like a twig or like a emerging tree, something like that. And there's, I don't know how many, but there's hundreds, it looks like, or maybe 800. But the point is that it's supposed to represent the rebirth of South Africa, and that it's a new nation with new principles, new ideas, and it's growing. And there's so many other things that are symbolic in this space, and I would do grave disservice to this place if I try to explain it. So what I'm going to do instead is recommend that you come and see it yourself and go on the guided tour. The tour is free. The admission is reasonable. You pay according to what country you live in. So I said, of course, that I'm from the States, and so my fee was more than was listed on the website. And I asked the woman at the front desk if I had said I was from a different country, what would the price have been? She said, well, it depends on the country. So I didn't get a clear answer. But I do believe that's probably true. That happens all over the world, really. Like in some countries, there's like a tourist price, like in China. They have a tourist price and then a local price. I don't know what the local price is. In Aruba, they have a tourist price and a local price. But this is the first time I've seen what country you come from matters. Like maybe what they're trying to do is like differentiate between African countries versus non-African countries. So maybe the price would have been different if I was from like Tanzania versus the US. Who knows? Who cares? The price for me to get in was 120 bucks or 120 rand, which is like, you know, like $11. So that's consistent with what museums cost in the States and elsewhere. This is one of my favorite parts of the Freedom Park exhibit. These are the names of people who stood in solidarity with South Africans as they overcame or struggled against or fought against apartheid. You'll notice the names here are all Spanish sounding names, and that's because they're Cubans that, under the rule of Fidel Castro, who's the last name you see here, were sent to this part of the world, to South Africa, Angola, and other South African countries, in order to stand in solidarity and fight in solidarity with the anti-apartheid struggle. And that's why you see the Cuban flag there and those Cuban names. I think it's honorable that South Africa, of offering an expansive view of history, not just the story of the victor, but the full story. And so you see the names of Cubans who stood in solidarity. Now you see the names of Americans who stood in solidarity. There at the top you see people like Maya Angelou. You see the name of Philip Randolph. These are American civil rights activists, Roy Wilkins, who also stood in solidarity with the anti-apartheid movement, and they are being commemorated forever because of their commitment to freedom, not just in their own context, but in the world.
In which all South Africans, both black and white, will be able to walk tall without any fear.
Frugal Travelista here at the Freedom Park Museum. Come. If you're ever in Pretoria or Johannesburg, or hell, if you're in South Africa, make the trip. It's beautiful. Beautiful.
And the United People, after reconciliation, for nation good, for the best of any world. Never, and never again shall it be that this beautiful love will again experience the oppression of one by another. It comes from the world.
This is why I love to travel.